Go. Hey everyone, and welcome to All Things Grace podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Michelle Majors. I think I hear feedback. Okay, we're good. I am your host, Dr. Michelle Majors, and I am super excited to spend time today with Marlon White for so many reasons. But just a little bit of background about Marlon and the conversation we're going to have today. So just really high level, Marlon, born in Jamaica, migrated to the United States in 1970, grew up in Brooklyn, New York, before serving 8 years in the Marines and then another 8 years in the New York law enforcement. What I'm really curious about is what happened between then and in 1998 when you made this life change, moved to Florida, became a certified personal trainer, nutritionist, and now runs The Protocol, formerly known as Elite Executive, where he works with bodybuilders and executives to transform not only their bodies, but their minds through a unique proprietary approach to health and wellness. I am super, super excited. So we're going to be taking a deep dive into this fascinating story and, how we got here. And I also have some very questions that I have some questions that I got from folks who found out I was interviewing you. And so I'll be making sure to share those with you. So thank you so much for being here, Marlon. I'm really excited you're here.
I thank you, Michelle, for having me. Thank you very much. I welcome the opportunity. I'm excited.
Yes. Let's dive in. Okay, so you served in the military 8 years, law enforcement for 8 years, and then something happened in 1998. We're leaving New York, going to Florida. Please, what happened in 1998 to spark this? Or you can go back and kind of give us the lead up to.
Well, in 1998, myself and my ex-wife were in New York City, raising two girls, paying for private school. Private school kind of expensive. Her girlfriend moved to Orlando, Florida, and we visited the summer of '96 for a housewarming. So when we visited summer of 1996 for a housewarming, it was nice. We really enjoyed ourselves. And then a year later, we visited again, and we really liked Orlando, Florida. At the same time, the schools in Florida were pretty good. We weren't going to have to pay for them. And that winter in New York City, my wife fell in the subway and injured her back.
Wow.
So, the fall was bad, but it resulted in 4 bulging discs. Oof. And 4 bulging discs and cold weather don't really go hand in hand. So at some point during that year, my former wife said, "You like Florida?" I said, "Yeah, I do." She said, "Do you think you can live there?" I said, "Absolutely, I do," because I did love coming here. Being Jamaican from a warm climate, yeah, I like warm climate. So, and then now the $800 we were spending monthly to pay for the girls to go to school, we wouldn't have to spend that money more. So that was a no-brainer. When I got to Florida, I was in pretty decent shape. And the gym I started working out in, the gentleman that ran the gym was the father of my Marine Corps commander. Very, very strange occurrence. As I'm there, I'm looking at him, and he looks just like my old battalion commander. And I said, "Would you happen to know so-and-so?" He goes, "Oh yeah, that's my son." And from there, now he was an older gentleman, former Marine, retired Marine, in very good shape. And I decided to do a bodybuilding contest. Did the bodybuilding? Well, I always wanted to get in great shape. I admire bodybuilders. So what better chance to get in good shape than actually turn yourself over to someone who knew? So I got ready for my first contest in about 70 days. Did not do well. I'll admit that. I placed 6th place out of it. I came in 6 out of 18 people. Not bad, but not quite really all that good, right?
Yeah.
But what I took away was the learning piece of it, from just the lifting weights and the diet and stuff like that. That like sparked me. That sparked my interest. That sparked my interest in the physical culture. When you hear the term the physical culture, that's what the bodybuilding world used to be known as. Probably still is known that way, because there's people who look at their body like art. They're into art. They're into the playing of weights. For many people in the bodybuilding and powerlifting world, it is like a religion. Okay, and I found myself deep into it. What I did take away from the not so good contest appearance, I realized that I could do this stuff, and I'd learn it, and I had an affinity just for learning the mechanics of lifting, eating, and stuff like that. So that really sparked my interest there.
Wow. So that was the beginning of kind of that mindset shift. And I've seen people in that world, and I'm like you in the sense that if I'm going to lose weight or if I'm going to do something, I might as well do it all in and do it in this construct. So I was like, well, that's why I ran a marathon. I was like,
Okay.
I've never ran a marathon before. So had a friend, and there's, every weekend we're 4:35 in the morning with my running group, and it becomes a thing. It really, really does.
Sure.
And so I've also had that dream to be to enter a contest.
Okay.
And I always told everyone, I'm entering this, I am preparing to enter this contest, not so much so that I can put on a bikini and parade myself back and forth and have people judge my body.
Okay.
But I just want the choice.
Gotcha.
I want the choice to right now, it's not even a choice. I want to be able to say, I'm not doing it because I don't want to, not because I can't, or not because I couldn't get it together to do it, right? So it's all about that choice piece for me. So I really understand that whole, like, let's go all in and just see what happens.
Absolutely.
So in the process of that, you when you get into this culture, I can imagine how the next logical step is, well, let me train others and support them in their journey. Can you talk more about that evolution?
And that's what happened. Once I did that, to get ready for the contest, there was a old school bodybuilder here in Orlando. He's legendary, named Sonny Malinelli. So Ernie Walrath was the person who trained me. He brought me to meet Sonny, and Sonny taught me some basics of nutrition, working out, things of that nature. Not anything too deep. But in meeting Sonny again, now Sonny is a person, he was an older gentleman, mid-60s, but he was beating, at 60 years old, he was beating people who were 40 years old in contests. So he was quite well renowned in Orlando, Florida, in the bodybuilding circuit. Sonny ran a certification program, and I became a certified personal trainer and learned a decent bit about nutrition there, bodybuilding style nutrition. Because one thing about bodybuilding style nutrition, it is plain, it is bland, it's hard to get it wrong. And when I say that, you can get it wrong applying it to a bodybuilder, but you can't really get it wrong applying it to regular people who are just trying to get in shape. It will get them in shape to a certain degree. But as you mentioned a couple of minutes ago, it is all in, and I believe that's where a lot of people make a mistake with their programs. You might see a program that is talking about 20 and 30 and 40 sets for workouts and hardcore this. I will tell you that if there are 1,000 people in the world and they approach that, you're going to have about 170 of them that will get into it, and about 90 of them that will stick. It is a long-term cultish mindset that is not a viable solution for the wellness of anyone who is not deep in that culture. So it is a nice entry point, but somewhere along the line, I don't believe most people fit in that culture or going at it in that methodology. So I began a small sole proprietorship, elite executive, and what ended up happening now, I started mailing flyers on the weekend to the more affluent parts of Orlando. And what ended up happening was several different affluent businessmen and businesswomen called me, and they required the services that I come to their house, and that's indeed what I did. So I started working with them, and then slowly but surely, people in the gym that I trained at, they saw that I had gone through a physical transformation, and they started coming to me for information. And then I started working with aspiring bodybuilders that want to compete on regional shows, and that's how that business got going. It was quite successful, especially in lieu of what I came to find out when I became unwell, when I became impacted physically, sick. What I was doing for the clients that had kept them in shape, that fixed their problems, did not work for me. Yeah, so that was frightening. It was eye opening, but it was also very helpful.
So you have these, as you're evolving now, and this is kind of how it goes, right? You take the action, and then the doors start to open, And then as the doors open, you figure out, oh, there's a need for this too. There's a need for that. So how did the nutrition piece came in? Now we're talking peptide therapy, nutrition. Like this thing has completely from, oh, let me show you how to get in the gym and train for this competition to, oh goodness, this is a whole protocol, protocol. So I guess maybe this is a good time to talk about the protocol, how you created it, why, and what it is, and how it helps.
Right after my 46th birthday, midsummer. I'm born in March, so the summer of my 46th birthday, I started experiencing extreme trouble sleeping, and then I had zero sexual interest in my wife. And I must say this about my ex-wife: she has always been a beautiful woman. She could have been a model, hand model, face model, body model. She was raised in a very respectful Baptist family. That's the only reason she didn't pursue modeling. But so I'm married to a very beautiful woman with a nice young family, and I have no interest in sex. I was emotional, and being a former U.S. Marine, I can tell you not many things scare me easily. I do get scared, but not many things scare me easily. But if you just disagree with me over a parking space, I would tear up. And if it was something actually meaningful, tears would run down my face. Deborah, very ladylike, very gentle, just a gentle touch from her, like hinting towards intimacy. I had anxiety attacks. And you must understand the male culture that I come from. I was a star high school athlete, almost drafted for professional baseball. I was in the Marines in a very, very aggressive unit. I was a law enforcement officer. So I come from a culture where this might be happening, but it damn sure ain't happening to me. This is happening to somebody else. This is a story that I hear about. It ain't happening to me, right? Yes. So that was troubling. And after about 4 or 5 months, my ex-wife was very patient. She said, Marlon, you need to go to the doctor. And begrudgingly, I went to the doctor, but I needed to. And I always say this to women: if you want to get your husband to the doctor, just have his PP stop work. He'll go right away. He will find himself there because you have to find out about it, right?
Right.
So we go to the doctor, and we're sitting in the doctor's office, and she comes in. 2 doctors that own this practice. The male's name is Dr. Gaynor, and I forgot what her name was, but she handled me a lot. And as she comes in and we're exchanging niceties, she's just looking at me and shaking her head. And she says, Marlon, I don't know why you're here, but I can tell you something is wrong. She said, because your voice is cracking like a 12-year-old going through puberty. And she said, what I'd like you to do is go to, she went through a basic examination, and then she sent me for a blood test. About 3 days later, she called myself and Deborah back in. And when we came in, she said, well, at this point, Marlon, I'm producing more testosterone than you. She said it in a joking fashion, but I believe me, I was not in the mood for jokes. And then she showed me the number, and the level was a 63. And if you know the testosterone scale for men, it begins at 250.
Whoa!
And goes up to 1100 to 12.
Whoa!
So I was at 63. That's the upper end. 55 is the upper end for women, but I was at 63. But she said, I'm probably producing more testosterone than you. And then she got serious. She said, well, now, seriously, I'm quite concerned because I don't know why. You don't look like anything's wrong, but I need to send you to a friend of mine in Lake Mary, Florida. His name is Dr. Victor Roberts, and he's going to take a look at you. Immediately that afternoon, I went and saw Dr. Roberts. And when Dr. Roberts saw me, he examined me and said, you're going for an MRI tomorrow. And he got me in priority. Kind of scary because usually MRI take a couple days, right? I get to the MRI, take the MRI, and a week later, Dr. Roberts calls me back in, sits me down, and he says, okay, I have good news and bad news. He said, the bad news is that you have a tumor called the microadenoma attached to your hypothalamus gland. And that tumor is causing you to produce the hormone called prolactin in abundance almost as if you're getting ready to have a baby, because prolactin is what females produce to prepare their body to produce breast milk. I was producing that hormone in abundance.
Wow.
Because of that fact, it was negating the testosterone that my gonads were supposed to be producing, pretty much jumping all over it, stepping on it, so that my level got down to 63. He said, now I can do two things. I can go up your nose with a knife and cut it out. You might lose about 5% of your short-term memory. He said, or I can give you this pill right here. And he showed me a small pill. It's called cabergoline. He said, you can take this pill Monday and Friday for the rest of your life. I opted for the pill. I didn't want anybody going in my nose with a knife, and I love my memory, so I want to keep them intact, right?
Yeah.
So then now he goes on to explain to me the interaction of testosterone and the body, the receptor theory of testosterone, how it is intimately involved with fat burning, how it is intimately involved with mood, how it is intimately involved with recovery from exercise. And this is an endocrinologist who knows all about this, but you would imagine in the business I was in, I was supposed to know that. And right there, it was a quite depressing thing to know that I had zero clue what the doctor was talking about.
Yeah.
I knew how to move things around, I knew how to move weights around, and I knew the science behind eating protein to build muscle. I had no idea of the biology or the science or the biochemistry. And that was disheartening. But I want to say this about anyone who might be listening. I was blessed because there are a lot of men, Michelle, walking around with a similar condition, right? Mm-hmm. But they may not be at a 63. They could be at a 200 or a 150. They just feel badly. They're not interested, right? Mm-hmm. But the only reason I got put into a center endocrinologist is because of her relationship. Mm-hmm. If you're a man, you walk into your doctor and you're at 200, and you're at your late 40s, early 50s, hey, John, yeah, this happens, you're getting up there in age, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And they shine you on, and they give you a Viagra pill, say, listen, just take this 30 minutes before she wants to do something, and you'll be ready. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot of men and women that are walking around with these conditions that exist that they are completely clueless about. Wow. And they are suffering silently, especially the men. The one thing about women, I would say that I've learned is women get together in a tribe and shit and dump their bag.
Yeah.
Men, they could be dying. Many times their ego will prevent them from talking to other men who actually might know and can lend assistance or give them an idea of how to get some help. But that led me to realize that there is a lot going on with people, because and microadenoma is one thing that a man can suffer. There are many things that a man or woman can be dealing with when it comes to their overall just not feeling good. And I want to say, when it comes to the protocol, many people in this space, they lead with, oh, I got a beach body. I want you to look hot in that dress. Those things are nice. But what we are much more concerned about, because when you follow things the way we do, the beach body comes. But what we're most concerned about is you're a 50-year-old or 40-year-old man. You need to be able to stay awake for your daughter's dance recital. You need to be active and mentally present at your daughter's wedding. As a mom, as a grandmother, you need to be active to actually chase your 3 or 4-year-old grandson around the house and be active and go for a walk with them. And those things are some of the things that the people that I work for are very, very interested in. And for them, they work long hours a day. So I had to I came to understand as much as I could about people before in regards to engaging with them and designing programs for them.
Mm. Well, I guess this is the part where I can share with folks that I started the initial process with you. And here's what I want you to know. Usually, there's so many women like me who we're just trying all these different things, no direction, no clear, just learn, YouTube information. Mm-hmm. And it's so confusing. It's so freaking confusing. So then you bring all of your past history of trying and failing. And then a lot of folks just give up. A lot of folks just chalk it up to, I'm getting older. And I just don't think it's right. One of the things I think that drew me to you is because I fundamentally believe that we don't have to age poorly. We have to age. We can age and still feel vital and vibrant, and we can move around, and and I'm like, this has been a long journey of up and down. And now in this, the numbers that you gave me, where I sat, I'm like, well, it looks just outside of the standard range. So I'm fine. But you said are like the word I think you used to describe it, where you said something not even a little bit close to. I think you used that term to describe like not even a little bit close to the range where you want to be, right?
Right.
And that was the first time of all of the doctors and consultants and the people that I saw, and the naturopaths and the raw vegan folks that I've seen, and all of these keto folks, like all these people, you're the first person that looked at the same numbers and said, oh, wait, you're not even close in the rate, right? It just feels good for somebody to say, I think we're onto something here. You're struggling in class and somebody says, oh, you have dyslexia. Thank goodness now I can go to 2. Now I have a plan, right? And so it just feels good, like I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. But it just feels good. Let's just say that maybe, I don't have this huge transformation. It feels good to have one person who studied, who I think me more now than a lot of doctors I've seen, and just this one like submitting initial thing. So anyway, that's just my plug. I'm really excited. I really want to have you back in 30 days, a month, 90 days, something just to see, so that I can share with folks like, whoa, or we've had to tweak some things, or some things are just where they are and we can't, but at least I know. So speaking on the topic of confusion, I want to throw out some things that are confusing to a lot of people, and maybe.
Can I interrupt? Say one more thing about what you said just now in regard to choosing different directions, right? Remember when I said when I became ill, I tried to do for myself what I've been doing for the people I work with, and it was working for them, but it wasn't working for me. So to equate that to you looking at YouTube and just trying different things, right? What most people in the wellness space are doing is, this didn't work, let me try that. This didn't work, let me try that. And many people are trying many things. And even in the wellness industry, we are throwing diets and we are throwing exercise protocols, methodologies at something that is very basic. Until the individual understands, and I hope all your listeners listen, this is worth its weight in gold. If you, the individual, do not understand some basic things about yourself, when you choose or buy a program from anyone, you are buying a diet and an exercise program. That's great. The people that I work for, they don't do that. They pay me for a result. What they're buying, what they're investing in is a result. And it's quite different than buying an exercise program and a workout program. Because I know a result must come, that we have to fix this. Then now, at the protocol, we spend the time to find out specifically as much as we can about them, and put to use all of our knowledge of how things work and how things don't work about them. It's not about the research, because in this industry here, they say, oh, the research says this, the research says that, scientists say this. If you look back enough in our history, and I always say that if you read the gospel, if you're a person who believes in God, if you're a Judeo-Christian and you believe in God, if you read the gospel with symbolic eyes, it is a mock at our society. It is a mock at our society for one reason. All the people in the gospel that know don't ever look like they should.
Say more about that.
So when Jesus stands up in front of the Sanhedrin court, they have been looking for a savior all of their lives. They've been taught, the people in the Sanhedrin are Levite priests. They have been taught that a savior is coming, and they have their eyes wide open. But see, what they're looking for He's not dressed in smooth clothing like them.
That's right.
He doesn't talk like them. He doesn't look like them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's not from the same group. As a matter of fact, when he's 12 years old and speaks in assembly, they make it very clear to let him understand you are that carpenter's son. You really shouldn't be saying much here.
Right.
Because see, you're not from the group of people who are supposed to know. Most people, when they meet me, might not look like the person that you thought could help you. But if you pay attention to your gospel, all the people that know, and many in many other fields, they usually don't look like the people you should be talking to.
I got it. That is a really great point. And that just really speaks to how we kind of fantasize people up as who is knowledgeable and who we, right? So can I hop into some of these questions now?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So first, I have like 7 questions here, so let me prioritize. First, I just want to start at a high level of like calories, right? Is it all about calories? Do the kinds of calories matter? Is it calories in, calories out? And should people actually eat a number? Obviously, that number will be different for each person, but should we have in our mind, okay, 1,500 to 2,000 calories, that's what I have to do? Or how should we think about calories?
Okay, I would say it's a little bit of each. That's why the individual has to find out about themselves. Let me explain that. Most of us in our society here have never actually eaten, right? And then waited till they're actually hungry to eat again. Think about what I'm saying. Think about it. So you get up in the morning and you're a mother of 2 with a husband, and he is dealing with the children putting their shoes on. You're scrambling the eggs. You're making you and his coffee, and he's grabbed it. And you say, honey, grab the coffee. Oh, he grabbed the bagel. He says, I got Johnny. He grabs Johnny, and they head for the car. So he has a bagel and an egg sandwich you made him with a cup of coffee, right? You do the same, and you grab Susie. You go 2 different directions. And those children are fed before they leave, just like you and your husband. And now you get to work, and it's 11:30 or 12 o'clock. And they say, well, Michelle, it's your lunch right now. Go ahead. And you go because it's the convenient time. And you go to eat lunch. But it's 4 hours after you ate your bagel egg sandwich. And your stomach is truly not hungry. It has food inside of it. And see the misunderstanding and the biggest problem that we have today is most people have no clue what happens when you eat. Michelle, most people have never eaten that egg sandwich at 8 o'clock and waited till they were actually hungry again to eat. And the problem with that is most people have never experienced their leptin response. Meaning they've never experienced their stomach emptying and then eating and letting it empty again. What we're doing systematically in many cases is eating food on top of food on top of food, and that does come with a consequence. You see, our evolutionary pattern does not speak to that. Think about, let's go back to the sharecropper days. Let's go back to the 1400s or even further. Breakfast, maybe. Food was eaten to sustain you, but now in our society, we have an overabundance and availability of food and convenience. Our eating patterns are about convenience, and food has become socialized. So the first thing I tell anyone, and this doesn't cost you a dime, you want to figure out how much food you need. Whenever you decide to eat your meal that day, just wait until you're completely hungry again. That will be quite edifying for 50% of the people listening to this audio here. Because we're doing this with our families, we're doing this at our job. We're doing this because when I first met my ex-wife, I was a law enforcement officer, a bunch of rough guys. She was a corporate banker, okay? We met, the group that I went with, we'd go out every payday. We'd end our day in a bar, and we'd be there from 6 in the evening to 10 o'clock at night drinking, okay? When I met my ex-wife, that changed. My friend said, hey, dude, you don't come out anymore. I said, yeah, I'm in love, okay? So when I would go to her house the few times after we got close, she'd invite me for dinner after work. She'd always have a little pint of Hennessy there. And about the third time over for dinner, she said, "Hey, you don't have to stop drinking because you're talking to me. I know you used to talk to different types of women, and I'm not one of them, but I don't mind if you drink." And I looked at her and I said, Deborah, to tell you the truth, I really don't want to drink. So what I found out in myself here, I was drinking because the social circle, the social order of the day for officers, law enforcement types, is to drink at the end of payday till you get drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taken out of that world now, and I'm pursuing a woman that I love. And guess what? She thinks I'm not drinking because I don't want to offend her. No, I never need to drink in the first place. But the group that I was with, it was a socialized activity. Many people listening right now, the light should be going on.
Yeah, absolutely. What's that saying? You show me your 5 closest friends, I'll show you you.
Yes.
But in a work setting, I know that's a little different, but it speaks to how we become one based on who we are hanging out with.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we keep.
So then if we shouldn't, that leptin response and all of that, so is that a case for then fasting?
Well, give you a good example. Intermittent fasting is a great concept and it definitely works. But no, because Michelle, some people will eat that meal at 8 o'clock and they'll actually be hungry at 12 or 1. Some people eat that meal at 8 o'clock and they won't be hungry till 4. And then some people will eat that meal at 8 o'clock and they won't be hungry till 7, 8 o'clock that night. And that is telling, because those people who are in that last category, who takes longer for them to get hungry, those are usually the people who are eating on clockwork. Mm-hmm. And see, they're never really experiencing their full digestive tract emptying. And now the responses to the food that these people are eating is what is driving the obesity, the difficulty, because most people don't realize, they've heard it. Oh, your blood sugar will go up. But hearing something and understanding the dramatic effects of excessively high blood sugar is 2 completely different animals. You can know the concept, but if you understand that, then you would actually take action and avoid that. And that's what is happening many times. People are eating on top of eating because of socialization and convenience. And this makes getting in condition exponentially more difficult.
But what about addiction? I mean, the foods have tons of gunk in them and different things in the foods that we eat. Wouldn't that be part of the thing that we would need to contend with as well?
Yes, but now, love the way you said it. What about the food and the things in them? Absolutely. One of the primary ways to break any addiction is the acknowledge of the so-called person who believes they are addicted, to recognize that my habitual move is to do this. And on top of this, now what I'm doing is causing me to sink deeper. The moment you identify that, then now at the protocol, we come up with different strategies to listen, you really think you're hungry? Why don't you go ahead and take a glass of water and see if you still feel that way? Why don't you just ask yourself, am I really hungry, or is this habit? And what we find with the people that we work with, they exponentially within 30 days, they find that, a lot of times I'm eating, I can stop myself, I just don't want to. The people who succeed with us, they learn how to, and then now with the advent of GLP-1 technology, it makes this approach a bit easier.
Mm-hmm. So hey, let's hop into that. That's the next one. So I want to ask 2 more questions. Okay. Sure. So the last 2 questions are going to be strength training versus cardio. That's another thing. And then these GLP-1s, Ozempic, we go all those things. Let's talk about.
So strength training versus cardio. There was a time I was cruising around running my current business now at about 310 pounds, but very bloated. I came from a culture of lifting weights heavy, strenuously, 5 times a week, and at the end of the workout doing cardio for 20 to 30 minutes on an elliptical or treadmill, right? And this is what I found out. Strength training in and of itself is a great principle. It's a great tool. So is cardio. different types of cardio. What I have found out with myself, I just turn my training around. Instead of cardio on the treadmill, I box 5 days a week and I strength train 3. That changed everything for me because now when I left the Marines, I was wearing a 34-inch waist. I'm wearing a 35-inch waist now. When I did the flip, before I flipped, my waist was 42. So for Marlon White, my scheme for fat burning and to put my body in a state where fat is much more easily accessible required more anaerobic than strength training. And now being a type 2 diabetic, both of them work well for me. And then with some people, the type of exercise is much more important because, say you, for instance, when I assess your photos, I can see in general you have a very small frame. That tells me, and when I'm talking about your musculoskeletal structure.
I was big boned.
Yeah. What that tells me is that I am going to definitely have you be doing strength training, maybe some deadlifts, squats, weight-bearing exercises to continue to strengthen that musculoskeletal structure. Okay, simply because the fact that is going to be a whole body workout that'll be needed. Then, not in regards to shedding fat, we're going to see: do we need to move faster with the weights, or do we need to do a different type of cardiovascular? There'll be several types. So each person will need what we do at the protocol. We're not locked into weights. We're not locked into treadmill or elliptical or walking. When we assess you, we try to figure out what is going to bring about the fastest results for this person in what we're looking for. And so because many people in this space, when you speak to them, they are so locked in weights and cardio. I've met people and worked with people, they don't do any cardio at all. The speed at which they move through the weights is like cardio in and of itself, and the weights are heavy. So again, we're not about systems, we're about people and what this specific person will need.
So you've had situations where people like, no, you need to do mostly cardio and then we do strength. Okay, so it's 100% depending on the person.
Because some people are dealing with conditions that they're unaware of, but we become aware of them. Case in point, I work with a couple of people who are diabetics like myself, but they were out of control diabetics. Those diabetics are at 130 or 140 blood sugar on average when they first came to me. They were using insulin, and they were eating in a manner in which their levels shouldn't be up. But being diabetics, many diabetics' liver hold on to a lot more insulin or a lot more glucose than you would like, and they go to bed, they got good numbers. They wake up in the morning, the numbers are elevated. Then you find out these people are elevated and they have an hour to work out. So we had to figure out how to, number one, empty the liver and the muscular tissue, have as much glucose as possible, how to use medicines at night. But before we got them into the gym, getting that blood sugar number down, either by increase of insulin the night before, okay, or by doing some kind of cardiovascular work before we got them to do the weights, so that when we do the strenuous stuff, the fat is accessible. You see, when your blood glucose is elevated, think about the fat being behind a prison door and the door being insulin and glucose that is locked. Insulin and glucose are elevated. You can move, you can try to move, you can work out till the cows come home. It will take a great deal of time, especially if you're a person with a compromised metabolism, like a diabetic, to get to that glucose. So what we advocate is getting people in a blood sugar range in a healthy way, that when they train, glucose is readily accessible. That means everything.
Let's talk about GLP-1s. Last question. Yay, nay? What are some of the? I remember you shared some information with me about they're great if you are used correctly, because I didn't think about how not only are you losing muscle when you lose weight that way, but you're also losing bone.
Right.
And I'm like, now look, can't be messing with my bones. Am I post or menopause? I think I'm post.
Yes.
Yes, I'm postmenopause. I can't afford to be having my bones being. So, what are some of the things that to be aware of for folks who do take GLP-1s to think about?
Well, GLP-1, many people in this place are against the technology. I'm not. And the reason I say that, it does provide, it does create the ability, it does give us or a person the ability to not eat, because number one, it causes it reduces insulin production in certain areas, creates insulin production in other areas, but also cuts appetite down. Okay, and it makes many people not want to eat. Okay, I think they're great tools, and I think the people who created them are well intentioned, and and the people who want to use them in general are well intentioned, but you have a group of people who want to use GLP-1s and want to still live on pizza and Snicker bars and fried chicken. That I believe that's the minority of people. But now, in regards to what is missing in regards to when we approach GLP-1 standardly, is this: because it can have this type of dramatic effect on your appetite. You must understand. Let's talk about a female. Many females, especially when they're under 45 and say they have a problem with their sex drive, it has a lot less to do with their estrogen or testosterone and a lot more to do with they're not taking in adequate amounts of fat. Okay, fat fat is the sulfur. Like when you can't strike a match without sulfur. Fat is the sulfur for hormonal production, especially in women who can have children. Okay. So you might see some of these super fit women. They have ripped abs and quads, and you can walk Brad Pitt into the room naked, or Tom Cruise, or Denzel, or Maurice Chestnut, and they're not interested. They look great, but they're not ready to party because they've reduced fat from their diet so greatly that the hormones can't synthesize and work properly. So that now, let's talk about muscle and bone. You have a greatly reduced appetite. The bones and muscles in your body require protein for them to hang around. Okay, so because you have this reduced appetite, and you might barely be able to get down 1,000 calories or 1,400 calories, it is critically important that your nutritionist puts your nutrition together in a manner that is easy as possible for you to get those adequate calories and the adequate nutrition to maintain bone, muscle, to maintain your bones and your muscle. Now, when we introduce the conundrum of having low hormonal levels, one of the things you will learn if you watch a competitive bodybuilder prepare, he or she cuts their calories drastically.
That's right.
when they're heading towards competition. What they do have in place of calories are elevated hormone levels. They are, whatever steroids and growth hormones they're using, they're the reason they're not losing muscle wholesale. A person using a GLP-1, the average person that is using it is not in great condition to begin with. Now, that said, their hormones in many cases are not in a good place either.
Yeah.
When the reduced calories that they will take in, they are not eating the right amount of calories in the right macronutrient breakdowns to support muscle and bone. So you do have a quick, rapid success of weight loss, but this is indiscriminate weight loss. This is weight loss coming at a cost of your muscle and your bone slowly. And you only find this out after you lose a certain amount of weight. And now you start to walk around, you have skin hanging off you. And some people look great in clothes, but you got skin hanging all off of you and you're missing bone. And that is anti-metabolism. So the GLP-1s can be used properly, but you need to understand that there are things that must happen with your eating to make sure that the decreased appetite and the insulin control that you have is it's worthwhile, and you are feeding your body what is necessary to make the muscle tissue and bone hang around.
I didn't even get to peptides therapy. I didn't get to any of that, but we just scratched the surface today. You definitely have to come back. We have to do a part 2. And by the time we come back again, I would have been working with you for some time.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to just sharing my experience, whatever they are, whatever it is, with folks, just to see, because, how when you get the right information and you follow that right information, and what makes it most important too is you're having someone design a plan for your body. And so I'm so excited to get out of these dogmatic right or wrong, raw vegan is the best or keto is the best, like that. You talked about eat right for your blood type, that blood type eating as well. All of these things I'm really looking forward to talking about, and you are a wealth of knowledge. I'm super excited. Thank you for spending time, Marlon, with me today. And I look forward to what we discover together over the next, time before we come back.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say one more thing.
Please.
My ebook is coming out this Saturday. Will be available this Saturday on my website, called The 10 Reasons You're Not Succeeding at Weight Loss. Okay, that'll be available on my website at www.theprotocolforyou.com. This Saturday after midnight, it'll be available. I thank you very much for having me, Michelle.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. I was so excited. I forgot to say, where can we find you? But thank you for making sure that we got that in and that folks can find you. And I will put your information in the description when this goes up as well.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please click the small bell and become a subscriber and join me in spreading the message of grace.